Hello, peoples. So, y madres. So I didn't tell her any heads up about the video, but it's a resumption, if that's a word, of honoring your parents, honoring your mother and father in the Bible. One thing you also got to keep in mind is sometimes you may have to, once you get in a healthier place, actually draw out a scenario for your mother or father. She was really proud about her hair progress.
Yeah, it's making a lot of progress, but I know that's not the topic, but it may not look like it, but it's come a long way.
Yeah, she made a huge change to how she uses hair products. But anyways, what I meant by drawing out scenarios is that I had to draw out a scenario with one of my parents the other day of like, well, if I hurt my child in this way, I wouldn't go into immediately justifying, well, I was broken that time, I was traumatized in that time. Although those things are valuable and valid to describe, it's not a good way to help the child or even your child that grew up to work through that, to reconcile through that. What I would do is be like, all right, son, daughter, thanks for being vulnerable with sharing that with me, and breaks my heart that it hurt you. What I did hurt you. And what can I do to make you feel better about that? Like at this moment in time, because you are my soul, you are my being. And drawing out through that scenario, and if you're in a heated debate about the particular hurting matter, they might be like, well, I don't want to hear that, just leave it in the past. And you may have to remind them, like, you have to sometimes feel through things, not just throw them in the pit of your stomach, which is exactly where ulcers start, where disease starts in the body. As one expert says, it's dis-ease in your body that causes disease. So if you're just constantly being like, well, I'm just going to put it in the past, it doesn't exist, I'm just a man, and nothing hurts me ever because I'm a robot. So I want to throw that out there. You guys may have to pretend to be a healthy parent sometimes to help elaborate scenarios, while also respecting that they had a real experience, that they were trying to deal with it as best they can, being in a whole totally different generation. What do you think, babe? About honoring your parents, about what I just mentioned, drawing out scenarios to help them understand things, to reconcile things.
The older I get, the more I realize that parents are also people too. Because I think sometimes that's really tricky. Like when you're growing up with a parent, especially if they showed up for you in a certain way, like you see them set apart from other humans. Because if you think about it, they're all adults and then they're all humans, and then we go back to the adult part. And I think once you get to a certain age, personal responsibility should become more apparent, but that doesn't mean that that's going to always be the case in anybody, but especially a parent. So we can only do so much to... People have free will, and so we can only do so much to help people see in a perspective that we want to see. So I think the best we can do is make sure our heart rate, see, what you want to do the same, what you want to do different, because it's always a mixture of both, right, in any dynamic. And then from there, if the person wants to stay more in victimhood and personal responsibilityhood, we get to model that for them. But from that point, I don't know, you just say your piece. I don't know. Say your piece, and then that's it. But we have to be very careful, I think, to, like you started to mention, like to give people space to have their journey. But just because they're having their journey doesn't mean that they get to continually disrespect or
diminish,
disregard the experience on the other side. Because a lot of times when I hear people say, well, that was my experience, that was my trauma and whatnot, at the same time they automatically negate the other person's. And it's like, how can you want people to respect you or respect your journey or where you're coming from? Number one, if you keep doing the same thing after I've acknowledged it multiple times, but number two, because you understand what it's like to want to have that space, time, and grace, but then you can't give it to other people. But I've noticed that people that are usually in that space want perfection, but they want you to give them the grace and whatever. Anyway, I just got sidetracked.
And speaking of grace too, it's important to recognize again the different generations. Like, I'll give a direct example, or even just different class systems. Unfortunately, my father, and when he was back deep in his addiction, and he was with my mom, he didn't even allow her to buy clothes. He was really controlling of her. She had to leave him with no money in the bank, no money whatsoever. She had to call her father after leaving to try to arrange some money. She luckily was able to work out like $500 to move somewhere with us, the children, with just about nothing. So those sorts of things, those traumas, you can't just expect somebody to be like, okay, I'm normal now. Like, it takes also time. It takes undoing even trust issues from coming out of that. And that's, something you could try to facilitate, but it's also largely beyond you. It's God's work. It's their work to want to move through that. And sometimes it could be dramatically hard. It could take decades.
Yeah, but I agree with that, and that doesn't mean you get a pass to continue to treat people a certain way.
Yeah.
So once you understand and you can see the other side, because there's plenty of people who've gone through that and worse, not to diminish that, because that is pretty bad, and worse, and they still don't treat people that way. If anything, it helps them have more compassion for other people and what they could be going through in their situation. So I still think when it comes to honoring the mother and the father, or honoring the parents, especially from a biblical perspective, some people misunderstand.
Okay, yeah, boy.
Some people misunderstand and think that means let people run over me, and it does not mean that. Because honoring your parents is also honoring the adult in them, honoring the God in them, honoring God's ability to heal them and understand who they are and know their deeper pains, but also honoring yourself as a extension of God, and extension them by doing them a favor and not recreating that in the next generation.
Yeah, what makes that hard as a child is you can't even know how to address that, right? You're just this defenseless little being, which we might make a separate video on, but we got to go get our food.
But that's when we talk about generational curses and generational bondage. Yep.
Yeah. There you go.
Bye.